Jaren Jackson Jr. has been the best player for a top 3 seed in the Western Conference this season, averaging about 23 points per game, 6 rebounds on about 60% true shooting. The two-way impact that he has provided for this Memphis Grizzlies team has been one of the main focal points on why this Memphis Grizzlies team has been so good. On top of Jaren Jackson being the anchor defensively and possibly being their best offensive player this season, the Memphis Grizzlies, on top of their depth and their guard play and their rotation and their coaching and their new scheme that has them as a top 5 half-court offense in the entire NBA, this team could be a serious problem in the playoffs. Now, I do believe Jaren Jackson Jr. has improved immensely on the offensive end. Last season, he was averaging about 63% in the restricted area. This season, it is up to 70%. And in the paint non-restricted area, Jaren Jackson averaged 44% last season. Now it is up to 53%. I would say a lot of the improvement from Jaren Jackson Jr. and G.G. Jackson and Vince Williams has come off the backs of the Grizzlies being the most depleted team in the NBA due to injury. So these guys got a lot of time to work on their game. And I think Jaren Jackson Jr. has been one of the biggest impacts of that, to where all the growth that he was having last season is now starting to come to light a little bit more now that the Memphis Grizzlies team is back on top of the Western Conference. So today on this episode of At the Buzzer Sports, we're going to be looking at the film and checking out why Jaren Jackson Jr. has been one of the best two-way players in the entire NBA and why he has been the best player for the Memphis Grizzlies and the main source of defense and anchoring the defense for one of the best defensive teams in the league. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the first thing I want to show is kind of like the base knowledge level of Jaren Jackson's defense. By the way, we're going to be looking at some defensive clips before we start with the offensive clips. A few things that you would like to know about Jaren Jackson is he's extremely versatile on the defensive end, being able to guard on the perimeter and also being a roamer and a rim protector, a low man, a help side rim protector, somebody that plays passing lanes, could be a defensive playmaker for the Memphis Grizzlies. And I think he's best in that roaming role. So he's been really good in those situations. And in the past 2 games, he's guarded Andre Jackson and Stephon Castle, 2 inconsistent shooters. So he's been able to roam around the paint just a little bit more to contest more Wemby shots and contest more Giannis shots, which I think he did pretty well in these 2 games. So we're going to take a look at his defense before we get to the offense. And let's start off by just a small little sample. By the way, Stephon Castle played really good in this game. I think he made a lot of high-level reads, and he had about 21 points. So if you aren't big on Stephon Castle or you just haven't been able to watch him, I advise you watch this game. So let's start off. As a matter of fact, let's start off with Stephon Castle just kicking it to Keldon Johnson. Keldon Johnson is trying to get a lane to the rim here. He gets past Jake LaRavia. Jaren Jackson's just waiting on him at the rim. He's waiting on him. His dribble's already picked up. If he tries to stop in his tracks and make a read, it's probably going to be a turnover. So I think Keldon Johnson has no other choice but to go up with the shot. And it happens, and Jaren Jackson Jr. does a really good job at contesting it. So A+ play. Now, on this play, Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to be guarding Victor Wembanyama on the defensive end, basically just guarding him in one-on-one situations in the half court. And Wemby's going to score on this play, but I do really want to show the recovery timing that Jaren Jackson has on the perimeter and how he's able to recover and protect the rim. So once again, Devin Vassell is going to be bringing the ball up the floor. They're going to try and give it to Wemby. Wemby is a deep shooter. He's a really good shooter. So you have to be out here when Wemby does get the ball. So it's understandable to where the pump fake could get Jaren Jackson to leave his feet just a tad bit, to the point where if Wemby's going to drive to the basket, now he has a lane. But when we look at it, Jaren Jackson Jr. is still in the play somewhat, and Santi Aldama is coming to help, which helps because Stephon Castle is an inconsistent shooter. So Santi Aldama protects the rim just at a decent enough level. I actually think he's in pretty good positioning to where Jaren Jackson can make the play. But then again, as I'm reacting to this live, we go back and we watch Santi Aldama position himself pretty well to disrupt this layup. Don't get me wrong. This now, with both of them collapsing to the ball, This now gives Wemby the perfect opportunity to rebound the ball for himself and go back up now because Jalen Wells, Luke Kennard, and John Morant weren't in any position to get said rebound. So I do think if Zach Edey, sorry, the trade deadline has been beating me up. But if I do think if Zach Edey was in the game, he would be able to get this rebound and stop this play from happening. By the way, there was a stretch in this game where Zach Edey was just getting hella offensive rebounds because the Spurs had no other big man. Now that Zach Collins is gone, they don't have any real backup big. If I'm tripping, let me know if I'm tripping in the comments, but I don't think they have a really good backup big anymore. And these are some of the concerns I have with the San Antonio Spurs in the playoffs. I mean, I don't think they have the most consistent shooters around Victor Wembanyama. Harrison Barnes is cool. CP3 is cool. I do worry about Stephon Castle. I do worry about Keldon Johnson. Don't necessarily worry about Devin Vassell. Even De'Aaron Fox sometimes, if he has to beat us from three, I would live with that. And I think this is another play right here where we're going to see Jaren Jackson Jr. guarding Stephon Castle. That's what he's going to do. But then again, he's going to go under all of these screens to the point where they're probably worthless. These screens are probably pointless. Now, Jaren Jackson Jr., he's leaving a big amount of space between Stephon Castle and Jaren Jackson Jr. So when we look, he's able to notice the lob immediately. He's able to notice this off rip. So instead of making that pass, Stephon's going to have to settle for the three-pointer. With 13 seconds left on the shot clock, though, which is pretty intriguing. But you would rather have Stephon Castle shoot that shot 10 times out of 10 before giving up a Wemby lob. So the fact that Jaren Jackson Jr. noticed it, cut it off, and also the Spurs are kind of helping with having a guy like Stephon Castle get heavy minutes as he has been over the past few weeks and not be able to shoot the basketball. So that makes it a lot harder for Victor Wembanyama. So Jaren Jackson Jr. just having that play awareness is also extremely valuable. Once again, the roamer that Jaren Jackson Jr. is, you're going to give him minutes against the non-shooter in the starting lineup, to where if you are not a consistent average to above average shooter, Jaren Jackson is going to make life pretty hard for your offense, to where he's able to blow up this action for Wemby. Once again, the fact that Wemby's 7'4" and he's getting curl screens, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But anyway, Wemby's going to get the ball on a curl screen. It looks like he has nothing but daylight coming into this pass, and he's going to get it in the lane. He's going to dunk. But the fact that Jaren Jackson Jr. is able to help this far off of Stephon Castle is going to make number one's life really, 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 really difficult. Just extremely difficult. So he blows up this action pretty simply because, once again, if we take a look, he's this far off of his man. He's this far to where Jaren Jackson Jr., the only way you're able to really take him out of the game, or maybe try to take him out of the game, is if there's just starting five that can play five out. You're not going to be able to win a series against a defense like Memphis and with a defensive game changer like Jaren Jackson with a non-shooter on the floor consistently, in my opinion. Okay, now let's talk about the area where he has improved the most on, and that is the offensive game. Once again, I alluded to it in the intro of this video. His touch around the rim has gotten fantastic. I think a few years ago, you would look at somebody like Jaren Jackson to be a play finisher, to where now he's in a position where he can get the ball on the catch on the perimeter and break down his opponent. By the way, this is a Defensive Player of the Year in Victor Wembanyama. Jaren Jackson Jr. is able to break down his defender and finish around the rim at a high level. You know, gets the pump fake, gets Wemby in the air, and he finishes just as easy. We also have this play here where he gets the ball off of a pass from Brandon Clark, and he's just bringing the ball up the floor. You know, once again, another very good defensive player in Draymond Green. Jaren Jackson's able to get a hezzy, get a step on Draymond Green. And just, once again, I noticed this with Alperen Sengun's game, and a lot of big men, to create advantages when they have the ball in the hand, they get really low. You see how Jaren Jackson Jr. can look under Draymond Green's shoulder when he's driving, that creates advantages. You see a lot of defensive linemen do it in the NFL. This creates a lot of advantages to where Jaren Jackson Jr. can drive past one of the best defenders of the planet effortlessly. And once again, he finishes through contact around the rim. This is something that we had a problem with going into maybe a few seasons ago, was just his touch around the rim. And it's gotten a lot better to where he can be a very, very comfortable two-way asset. And I truly don't think Jaren Jackson Jr. is ever just going to become this bruising type of big man. So his touch around the rim is going to be very, very important for his development and how this Memphis Grizzlies team is going to operate in May, in April. So when he has a stronger center guarded by him, now DeAndre Jordan is nowhere near the defender he once was, but just being able to have that type of finesse when you're clearly not out strengthening him and then get that touch around the rim, it's amazing. It's amazing. Those are things that you're going to need in the playoffs. Let's just take a look at another clip. Jaren Jackson Jr. identifying that he has a smaller Harrison Barnes on him. I forget his name. I think it's Charles Bassey. He's going to be helping here when Jaren Jackson does try and create that advantage on the perimeter. So once again, they do a pretty good job at plugging the paint right here to where Jaren Jackson Jr. does not have the best opportunity to finish around the rim. It would have been a lot better if Zach Edey was just a little bit more aware in the wide open lane you have to the rim, being 7'4". If you would have just dove to the paint a little bit better, this would have been an easy assist. But with the improvements that Jaren Jackson Jr. has made as a finisher, he is able to play through contact and get the finish. You know, he's just been improving a lot more. And once again, to a casual fan, this is going to be just a regular play. You know, this is just a regular play. Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to finish in the paint, non-restricted area. And one thing I want to admire about this is people don't realize how much space you get just off of a clean shoulder bump to the chest, especially a guy who is a shot blocker, somebody who is really effective in just being baited into blocking shots and not necessarily getting hands up. If he gets this bump right here, that instantly creates the space to where straight off the bump, you get a really good look at the rim. And that's what Jaren Jackson Jr. has, because he's elevating into his shot before his defender can even realize that the shot is going up. So he gets the easy look and he finishes around the rim once again. I really just wanted to show that Jaren Jackson Jr. is having probably the best 2 games of his season so far against the Bucks and the Spurs. And once again, it's been all because of his defense, all because of his finishing around the rim. But I really wanted to focus in on the San Antonio Spurs game because he got really hot from 3 against the Bucks. Once again, he gets the ball with his back to the basket, and Jake LaRavia clears out. He clears out because you trust Jaren Jackson Jr. a lot more as a finisher now. He goes up on Sohan and he finishes around the rim. It's a small adjustment or a small improvement that just improves the team tenfold. Now, this is going to be the last clip, but this is the final one against Giannis. Something that I've seen a lot more, noticed a lot more in Jaren Jackson's game is he likes to put his back to the basket. Now, he's not going to be one of those guys who just dominates with his back to the basket, but with his ball handling, I do think there is a more craftier type of window that you can get into with Jaren Jackson's ball handling plus the finishing around the rim. Now, do I think he's a perfect ball handler? No. Do I think he's gotten a lot better as a ball handler and a finisher around the rim? Yes. So if you take a look at Jaren Jackson Jr. having the ball on the perimeter, he is able to build up some type of head of steam, stop, get the push off, and rise up around the rim and finish. So, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. That is my film breakdown on Jaren Jackson Jr. I do think this season he has been the best player for the Memphis Grizzlies, and that is something that I do not necessarily love to say. I do like to see that Jaren Jackson Jr. is improving, but I do have a slight bias towards John Morant. Not going to lie, but John Morant just has not been great this season. I'm pretty sure the next film breakdown you guys are going to get is the Paolo Banchero film breakdown. Paolo Banchero is another guy that I root for pretty heavily. and he just has been struggling. So we're going to break down where he has truly been struggling. That video should be out tomorrow. So if you guys like this type of content, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace.